greatest thing about the entrepreneurship thing that I think about with Henry Ford is his famous quote, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So if you believe you can, you're on the right path. If you think it's going to be tough, you're also right. So don't be defeatist in terms of starting. Here's what I'd like to do. We're talking about Smart Nation for the simple reason that we believe we have important challenges as Singapore, and we want to work on things that are important. So part of my opening statement is, please work on things that are important. And I don't mean that to sound condescending in any way, but we see so many startups that bring in ideas that say, there's this thing that is just like this other guy's thing, but it's a little bit different, or the screen's a bit more crisp, or it's 2 seconds better response time. We don't see, unfortunately, as many big ideas as we would like at the moment, and we have some really big challenges. So we have health challenges, transport challenges, energy challenges, food safety. There's a lot of important things, and they're shared by a lot of countries. Are we working on the right things? This is the big question for us today, which is, with some of the really big challenges that we're all facing, are we working on the right things? Here's an area that I think is really cool to think about briefly, which is originally innovation through the US Patent Office as a proxy for innovation or invention had a lot of original ideas, things to do with steam engines or locomotion, and there was some original discovery. Over the recent years, it's moved much more to something that already exists, combined with something that already exists, and done in a new way, and that becomes patented. So the message here is there's much more mixing and matching of current things as opposed to breakthrough things than there has been in the past. So if you think of the transistor, done in Bell Labs, Shockley and others, that was original materials, original work, physics thought of in a new way, and so that's a foundation. Now you've got this app or that app, and I don't mean that apps aren't important, but these are things now which is, how do we continue to build long-term with some really cool stuff if what we do is recombine each other's stuff in new ways? Over from Europe wants to make Singapore one of his innovation bases, and he's working on insect as a food source, which some people think, gosh, that sounds kind of odd. To me, I think it's pretty cool, because mealworms, crickets, and others on a per kilo basis have more protein than many other food sources, and they are hugely easier to try. And if you think again how many cattle it takes to try and feed somebody, and how much wheat and grass versus a mealworm. So he's currently using these insects to feed fish as a more sustainable approach, instead of fish meal being fed back to fish, which is corruptive to the food chain. So he's thinking about that. We'd say, hey, great. How do we extend that to be comfortable for more and more people to think about as a food product? The simple scenario is everybody has to do two things in life. You have to contribute something, and you have to learn something. That's my basic scenario. And so what I can contribute is, I know a lot of people in the tech industry, because that's where I've spent my career. I know nothing at all about government machinery and the processes, so that was my opportunity to learn. So what I'm trying to do is bring to the team this idea that it's okay to fail, it's okay to try, it's okay to learn. That's probably the thing that I can contribute, and hopefully we're making a little progress in trying new things, including working with a lot of you in startups and investments area. Is to do something cool, you have to go further. And I'm sure that resonates with you, I hope it does. But the thing that we don't want to do is say, here's what we know, let's go like this, because we're not going to get to the outcomes that we need. We need to take a big stride, and if we're going to take a big stride as Team Singapore, then we know that there's going to be areas in which we're stepping that we don't know enough about. That's part of the adventure, that's part of the learning, that's where startups play such a critical role, that's where innovation plays such a critical role. So for us to move on big issues, we have to go into some uncharted territory. It can be exciting, or it can be fearful. We choose it to be the first, which is to be exciting, but we need people that are also motivated, also want to give it a try, because we can't drag anyone along. What we'd like to do is run with you.